I find this to be interesting. Bill Belichick was asked on his local radio hit this morning about his future with the New England Patriots. Take a listen.
Whatever success I have had, I've tried to go about my job the same way every week. Win, lose, good years, bad years, whatever they are. Just each week, get ready to go for that week. Do the best you can to help your team win. And after that game, move on to the next one. And at the end of the season, that's the end of the season. But on a week-to-week basis, I don't want to spend time or get caught up in, what happened 5 years ago or what's going to happen 2 years from now or, a bunch of other random stuff. So just working on the Jets. Yeah, I'm committed to the team that I'm coaching right now. The players that are here, they deserve my best every day, and that's what I'm going to give them.
That's Bill Belichick, who's, let's just be honest, the greatest coach ever in the history of football. The greatest coach ever in the history of football. You cannot have the level of sustained success and excellence that they have. Like, oh, Tom Brady. Again, we're telling the story now from the perspective of now. Buyer, Stu, we're all old enough. Tom Brady was not Tom Brady in the early years of the Super Bowl championships. Okay? He evolved into this greatest of all time. And I've said this, the most underrated part about the whole Tom Brady, Bill Belichick era is that somebody convinced Tom Brady to take less than top dollar for a long enough period of time where they always had some money to get guys off the street, and they figured it out. They figured it out. They got Junior Seau, who was washed up with the Chargers. Do we remember that? People forget Junior Seau. Didn't he go to the Dolphins first? I want to say Junior went to the Dolphins first. And people are like, Junior Seau's washed up. He comes there. Corey Dillon won a Super Bowl as a running back. He was a pain in the ass in Cincinnati. Talented pain in the ass. Comes there, fits in. Troy Brown playing both ways, offense and defense. Look, Tom Brady's awesome. Bill Belichick, also awesome. And I've said that the ultimate downfall of the Patriots, honestly, was the year in which they went 7-9 after Tom Brady left. Because if in that year they bottom out, okay? If in that year they bottom out, how different is their football team with where they draft? Because the next year, they spent more money than anybody to fix the defense, and they went to the playoffs. But they're forever hindered by the quarterback. Right? These things aren't that hard to look up. Go back a couple of years ago. 2021, that's the very next draft after the COVID year when they had 8 opt-outs and they lost Tom Brady. And they were badly over the cap. Anybody else who either can't coach or any normal coach, that team wins 3 games. Okay, go back and look. They won 3 games where Cam Newton threw for less than 100 yards. I love this colorful Cam Newton. I respect some of his opinions. This whole idea that he doesn't play in the NFL because his personality's too big. He's so lost on reality. And God bless him. We're all this way as former athletes. We all think that the coach screwed us. Somebody screwed us. There's a reason. There's only one reason Cam Newton's not in the NFL anymore. He can't throw a football. His shoulder is shot. Sorry. But they drafted Mac Jones at 15. Okay? Take a listen to the players who went before Mac Jones. Trevor Lawrence. Zach Wilson. He wouldn't have drafted Zach Wilson. Does anybody think he would have drafted Zach Wilson? No chance. Trey Lance, Kyle Pitts. It was a bad year because the COVID year made it really hard to tell who was any good. Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Penei Sewell, okay? Devontae Smith. Maybe Justin Fields he would have taken. But it was a bad quarterback draft. The best quarterback was Trevor Lawrence. But again, it's not just about the first round. It's also about the second round. All right, because you end up going with, didn't they move? I think they moved up to get Christian Barmore. But my point is that if you look at the New England Patriots, if you're just honest with yourself about the Patriots, that guy's an unbelievable football coach. Okay. He gets there, his first year, they're 5-11. The next year, they go 11-5 and win a Super Bowl. And everybody's like, man, that was Tom Brady. Dude, Tom Brady didn't do he just didn't lose the game, and he had one great drive in the Super Bowl. Following year was the only year, after the Super Bowl, the only year with Brady that they were below 500. 14-2, 14-2. 10-6, 12-4, 16-0. And also bitten by the injury bug, right? 16-0 team, losing the Super Bowl, everybody back the next year. Randy Moss, the best wide receiver, maybe in the history of the sport, probably second to Jerry Rice, if we're honest with ourselves, right? Tom Brady gets hurt, doesn't play. And they still win 11 games. So, Belichick's the greatest coach of all time. I'm totally okay saying Brady's the most accomplished. You want to call him the GOAT? That's fine. But what if, like you envy these, you don't envy anybody's relationship ending, but did you guys see the video of Demi Moore and Bruce Willis from, I think, New Year's? Did you see any of it? Like they're all in their Christmas pajamas and they're all remarried now and they're like a modern family. And here's Demi Moore with her ex-husband celebrating New Year's together. Like, that's pretty amazing. Right? And you see this sometimes. You're like, hey, me and my ex-wife, we take kids on a family vacation together and we go with our... Does it happen all the time? No, most times it doesn't happen.
And there usually is some time between the breakup and that.
Right, because everybody wants to...
You can evolve as
You want to
friends,
win the divorce. Everybody wants to win the divorce. Right? And, I mean, Brady won the divorce in year one. Now, look, the Brady thing, it slowly fell apart in Tampa. But Brady clearly won the divorce in year one. And then all of a sudden, like, you get to the, there was a reason that you loved her, you loved him. There's a reason that you were together for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever. Did you see Zach Brown got divorced after 4 months? I mean, I guess, like, if you're going to call it. He has 5 kids from his first wife anyway, but 4 months? It's fast. I mean, like, you're on the honeymoon. You're literally in the honeymoon stage. Must learn to put the seat down, bud. Anyway, is it possible that Belichick and the Pats come to some form of at least outwardly amicable divorce? I mean, look, that's what happened with John Gruden and the Raiders. John Gruden was traded from the Raiders to Tampa, beats the Raiders in the Super Bowl, but ends up, circle back, he was the coach of the Raiders until some emails end up doing him in. It doesn't happen often. There is some time in between. There is a lot of bitterness, right? Because we all want to go out on our own terms. And you do get to a place when you're married where you're like, I just thought I was going to grow old with this person. Now I'm not. Now I got to change all that stuff. The good news is all your old jokes are funny again. The bad news is you don't know anything about the history and you can't point to things 20 years ago that are still funny to you. Divorce sucks. Relationships breaking apart sucks. Even in sports and in business. I mean, I can tell you, like, in business, how many places have you worked, Jason, where when you left, either you were bitter or your employer was bitter, and now you circle back to like, that was an awesome time. I mean, I was never bitter. I left ESPN. I was never bitter at all. And there was no bitterness. I mean, they offered me a 5-year contract that I walked from for a couple different reasons. And then we went through the process, and I've told people this, like, not anyone specifically, but what happens is when you go somewhere else and you're having fun, you're doing something different, people will hate on you because they wish they got the lifeboat, right?
I think that's where the ugliness comes in our industry and in the NFL, and that. And in marriage too.
They might divorce, unsurface because like when the guy goes and marries the woman half his age, then they're like, right.
But what you're referring to is like in sports, it typically is amicable on face value. They both have their statements and everything's fine. It typically is the follow-up, the sourcing of the agent of the person that was left and the sourcing of the team that it gets really kind of ugly. And then books are written and stuff like that. This is such a unique thing. And it was almost, to me, like Robert Kraft, I think, could have done his fans a service if he would have said, you know what, we are going to part ways, so that at the very least they could have said goodbye to him last week. To think that this might be the last game that Bill Belichick coaches on the road against the Jets or whatever, it just doesn't seem
it is apropos, though, right? He hates the Jets. Well, he was the head coach for a day. Is that right?
Yeah, about.
It's like a day. They traded for him. I actually think it's an apropos ending, right? That here's what's going to happen. They're going to win. He's going to screw up their draft again, right? He's going to outcoach the other guy, Robert Saleh, who's everybody was in love with. And you're like, you know what? He's not really that good a coach compared to Belichick. And so what'll happen, right? It'll actually probably help the Jets in their draft position, but hurt the Jets. And he just likes sticking it to the Jets. Feels like a perfect Belichick ending. And did it his way with Zappe, who wasn't the quarterback he drafted, but he figured out a way to win.
His way with Zappe.
Yeah.
That just sounds pathetic.
No, I mean, like, look, it's a bold move. Do you like saying I was wrong?
I don't think anyone likes doing it, but.
Do you think an old man who's been really successful likes saying he was wrong?
Nah.
Okay, he drafted Mac Jones. That was his quarterback. Now he has Bailey Zappi, who he cut this year and brought back. Right? And by the way, I find it hilarious that all of these idiots are like, oh, I can't believe the Denver Broncos asked Russell Wilson to wipe his injury clause. Like, the Patriots cut the guy and brought him back. He's making nothing. Peanuts. Nobody said anything. This is how the league works. Anyway, he's going to win a couple games with Bailey Zappi as his quarterback. The dude's an amazing coach. His front office work is ultimately, and the fact that they've never drafted that high, ultimately is undoing him. But the question is, can this relationship end amicably? Because it does feel like it's coming to an end, right? So what's the best way for it to end? You trade him to somewhere warm. Old people like to coach somewhere warm. They like to go move somewhere warm. That seems amicable to me, right?
I don't really care about that.
It would be weird because, he's made the cutoff sweatshirt synonymous with him, as if he's coaching somewhere that's warm or in a dome.